Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul, and my co-host Justin Baker. Just a little bit late. The old boss man holding him back. So it's just me to start the show. Justin will be calling in shortly. Gonna try doing this because I've got a certain amount of time. Justin's got a certain amount of time. So we're just going to see what happens here. So it's just me, but Justin will be calling in here in just a minute. On today's show, we are going to be previewing the Stanley Cup Finals. What an unbelievable end to that conference final. The Colorado Avalanche just blowing the Edmonton Oilers out of the water. I'll be the first to admit that I had that series entirely wrong. I went out on the limb. I knew I shouldn't have. Actually, Justin asked me, he said, who are you picking for the conference finals? Because he posted on Twitter, at OT Hockey Talk, if you want to find us. And I told him, my picks have been less than great up to this point through the playoffs. It's why I don't gamble. And he asked me who I picked to win, and I said, "You mean who do I pick to lose?" Because it seems like whoever I pick to win loses. I went Edmonton Oilers in 7, and literally the exact opposite happened. Not only did the series only go 4 games, the Colorado Avalanche won all 4 of those games. So the Avalanche sweep the Edmonton Oilers, and Connor McDavid's love life takes a big hit because of it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head to Twitter now. I swear my whole feed, I thought that I was on someone's comments or feeds. I don't know. And it was just my Twitter feed was the Connor McDavid video over and over and over again. Memes and comments about this video. Connor McDavid caught out with another girl, and he realizes that somebody's watching that video, and oh my goodness, it's absolutely tremendous. I think the hashtag is McHammered. Hashtag McHammered. So just go look up hashtag McHammered, and you'll be there. So I had the Oilers in 7, and the Avs won in 4. The Avs they just dust the Oilers off, and they get a solid 8-day break, which is fantastic. I think going into the finals, it's not the best when you get a long break from the first round to the second round. Like, you just kind of get rolling. You get that big win. You get the monkey off your back. I don't care what team you are. I don't care how many first rounds you've won, or if you haven't won any at all. Winning that first round is so clutch. I think that it's a lot easier to lose in that first round to an underdog who's got nothing to lose. Once you move into the second and the third round, you're generally, things are just a little bit different. The vibe is different. The focus is different because of how deep you've gotten in the playoffs at that point. So once you get past that first round, you kind of want to keep that momentum going. And likely you're not completely decimated by injuries yet. You get into that second, that third round, and you see what happens. Now, granted, I guess Tampa Bay, Braden Point gets hurt in Game 7 against the Leafs, so that's not entirely true. But these 8 days for the Avalanche have been you're never going to complain about getting that moving into the finals. The finals, you're going to have no trouble getting amped up. I'm not going to buy into the Avalanche being rusty going into the finals. Give me a break. Get out of here with that crap. It's just a terrible take. And the Lightning, they get 3 days off, so they still get some time to prepare, some time to get healthy. Braden Point might be back for Game 1. It sure looks like it. He's been skating at practice, so actually, when I say might, I'll go ahead and say that he's going to be back for Game 1, and boy, are they going to need him. And with all that long break for Colorado, that also gives Darcy Kemper is now available for them. So we don't know if they'll go with Frank Coos or with Kemper. Both goalies have played well. It's seemingly whoever you put out there for the Avalanche does well because the Avalanche can outscore everyone. But they are going up against quite possibly the best goaltender of the last 15 years. Who's the best goaltender? Look before Vasilevsky. Who's the best goaltender for a team that has won the cup since then. I guess Marc-Andre Fleury, you'd put him in there, but Marc-Andre Fleury was never at the Vasilevsky level, right? Like Marc-Andre Fleury was a fantastic goaltender. He's a Hall of Fame goaltender, which is crazy to say that he's not at the same level. I don't know that Marc-Andre Fleury was. I guess there was a time where he was talked about in the same way that Vasilevsky is. But he's got the 3 cups. Now he didn't exactly, he didn't win all the games in all those cup wins either. That's the tough part. Mostly because, hey, would they win the first cup when he's a little younger and he's over 30 by the time they get into the finals in 2016. So it's just a little bit of a little different of a play there. But anyways, I'm giving the edge to Vasilevsky over Marc-Andre Fleury in terms of what he's done early in his career. Vasilevsky's still got a long career left to go. I think that it's likely that he's looked at as the best goaltender since that Martin Brodeur and Patrick Waugh kind of left the game. Like those were the guys. I mean, Brodeur retired in 2000 and what was it? 2000, not 2012. He didn't play for them in 2012. Anyways, Brodeur, probably the last best goalie. But Vasilevsky just bringing it. Obviously, Shesterkin here again with the Rangers wasn't able to pull it out against the Lightning, but Shesterkin, the other best goaltender in the league right now, probably the Vezina Trophy winner for the regular season, and the New York Rangers are likely going to be back because of how good that goaltending is. I think that we're starting to move from this. We had this weird moment in history where the goaltender was less important. Like, Chicago won with Antti Niemi? Fine. Yeah, I guess we don't need to spend that much on our goaltending because, it's Niemi. And we won no matter what. We had such a good team. And now Niemi was fantastic in those playoffs. But he was really put in the right scenario to be able to win. So when you consider the goalies that were winning the cup, and I guess Jonathan Quick, he was phenomenal. But Jonathan Quick, he's not a Hall of Fame goalie, I don't think. He just had 2 incredible runs. He was a really good goalie for 3 years. A really good, above average, really solid goaltender. Justin's trying to call me. I'm going to patch him in. For some reason, my thing's not working there. So we're patching Justin in. Jonathan Quick was a top 5 goalie, but it was kind of at a weird time in goaltending. There we go. Justin, what's happening?
Hey.
Did the boss, what was happening with the boss there?
Dude, so same thing as last time. It's funny. So we had a candidate here to interview, which, happens a few times a week, but it seems like anytime I have them scheduled to end at 4:30, everybody goes over, and then my boss is always the last one to interview, and I have to see the candidate out. And, of course, she went over just like last time, which is causing the delay for me to start right at 5 o'clock again.
Unbelievable.
So I'm like, bro.
you should get a bonus at least. That should be. You should get like an overage pay. Like, hey, I had to be here late. I'm late for my podcast. By the way, we're recording. We're 9 minutes into recording.
9 minutes?
Yeah, I've been talking a lot. I just decided to hit the button and just start talking. So I've already kind of I went through quickly the Oilers and Avalanche series. So I was just trying to keep things moving, and I was actually just talking about how Jonathan Quick, maybe he's not a Hall of Fame goaltender, was what I was going at. Jonathan Quick, in my opinion, not a Hall of Fame goaltender. You might disagree, but the reason I was bringing that up was because I was pondering on the fact that we had this little point in history where teams started to wonder, do we really need to have a really good goalie to make it far in the playoffs, or like to win a Stanley Cup? And we saw that with like Chicago and Niemi. You had, Pittsburgh was using multiple goaltenders. I mean, they were both really good, but I mean, look at how things have gone since then for the guy who was supposed to be the backup for the Pittsburgh Penguins, who ends up winning the cup. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? It's gone.
Louis Domingue?
No.
Tristan Jarry?
No, the guy who actually won the cups for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, Matt Murray.
Matt Murray, yeah, there you go. Oh, my goodness.
My mind was on this year's playoffs.
That's because I've been rambling too much. My brain's gone. But, yeah, I mean, he wins them, and then he goes somewhere else, and he's not actually that good. Turns out, the team in front of him was really the reason probably why they won, less so than because he got hot, but... he's not a Hall of Fame goaltender. You know, there was just this time period where it seemed like in order to get to the finals, you had to have a Hall of Fame goalie like Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur. You had, Chris Osgood, borderline Hall of Fame goaltender for what Detroit had. You had like Curtis Joseph pushing his teams deep in the playoffs. Ed Belfour, these goalies that were the highest echelon of the league. Their teams always seem to find their way to the finals. And that hasn't necessarily been the case up until more recently, like Carey Price taking his team to the Stanley Cup Finals. You've got Vasilevsky taking his team to the finals 3 years in a row. And Shesterkin basically by himself taking the Rangers to the conference finals. I think you're starting to see a rise in the superstar goalie again, where the teams with the really elite goalies are probably going to win some rounds just because of how good their goaltending is. And that wasn't the case even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you because, look, I'm with you. I don't think Jonathan Quick is a Hall of Fame goaltender, right? Chris Osgood, I could have that debate. I really, after watching him step in for Dominik Hasek in the 2008 finals and what he did to win that cup, maybe you could have made a case for him to get that Conn Smythe, and then maybe that would be that piece of hardware, right, that puts him over that edge that a lot of people have him borderline. Because listen, he ranks 13 all times in goals or in wins, so that's something on its own. Anyways, all that being said, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that teams that have a very strong defensive structure type of game can win with a decent goaltender, but for teams that have that superstar goaltender, you're right, it's absolutely possible for them to go a few rounds or even, win a whole round because of the goaltending they have, right? So, Bobrovsky is the big example I look at, right? If he had been that superstar goaltender that won those Vezinas when he was in Columbus, right, then we'd be talking about a different story with Florida right now, even though they just couldn't score. But, again, because they came up against a superstar goaltender that just shut it down. Yep. And Tampa was able to play not only that superstar goaltending, but that superstar system that they have right now, man, it compounds, and then you just can't do anything if you're Florida, regardless how good of a scoring team you are.
Yeah, because I look at Colorado and I look at them and I go, man, I don't know that they're not that they got lucky, but they got lucky in some respects, right? Like they were horrible in 2016-17. Was it 2015-16 or 16-17?
16-17.
When they had 48 points and they end up drafting Cale Makar. They were the worst team in the league and they dropped to 4th overall. And then they get Cale Makar, who in reality could have gone 1st overall in that draft. I think there's certainly an argument to make for that. And it's just, that's sort of lucky, right? Like it is lucky that he fell to 4th overall. They got lucky getting Bowen Byram, who's in their top 6 now, because Ottawa tanked the year that they traded Duchesne. They were horrible, and they end up getting the 4th overall pick. They think they got Samuel Girard in that deal too. Yeah, they did. So it's just there's 3 of their top 6. Now, great general managing, but at the same time, you got to get a little lucky. And it's hard to build the way the Avalanche have built because they have so many superstars on their team. Like, it's just, that's not necessarily a model to go out and just repeat. Like, yeah, just go out and get a Makar and a McKinnon and then, also go out and get, like, Kadri, who is almost at freaking 100 points, like all these other Landeskog and Rantanen, and just go get some of those in the draft. Yeah, that's what everyone is out to do, is to go out and draft 5 or 6 superstars, but that is just difficult to do. Very difficult. There's a reason why, really, you've got Colorado, and then you've got, now Tampa Bay isn't the same, because they drafted Hedman and Stamkos and Point. They drafted Cirelli. They've done a really nice job drafting. They also, hey, they were bad first overall. They got Stamkos. Bam. And he's fantastic. Is Stamkos the reason why they've won all these cups? I think his attitude definitely plays into a factor, but I don't know that he's ever been as good as Nathan McKinnon is, at least on their playoff runs. He's had some really great seasons, his 60-goal season for one, but I don't know that he's ever been as good as McKinnon has been, very at the McKinnon level.
It's easy, right? Because McKinnon's the type of player who can take over a game, right? Stamkos is a guy who does it quietly. He's not as flashy, in my opinion, right?
Right.
So right. Stamkos right now is developed. He, to me, is almost like a modern day Yzerman.
Steve Yzerman. I said that the other day to Luke.
Yeah, he's transformed his game a lot to where he's playing he's blocking shots. He's really playing that good defensive structured game where he's not out there looking for 60 goals every season now, because he realizes, hey, you know what? That doesn't win championships.
Right. And all right, and they also draft Kucherov. So yeah, there's a model there of, hey, go out and draft unbelievable players. I don't know that it's that easy and it's super repeatable. Like, it's only happened really to a few teams.
Oh no, it takes a lot of luck to draft guys. Like right. You said, Colorado getting those Cale Makars and falling into place, but you got to look at too, Steve Yzerman with Tampa Bay especially. He went out there and made those moves where maybe you're like, is this really the right play, right? For example, the big one I go back to is Jonathan Drouin for Mikhail Sergachev, right? You got a guy who is essentially dominating on that third pairing right there, and he comes in and he can lead your power play. When Victor Hedman maybe is a little bit tired and you need to give him a rest, he can step in there. He can go up and down all 3 pairs, no problem. And you essentially at that time you had Jonathan Drouin, who was looked at as possibly like, the next superstar winger who could come in and potentially be a 80-point guy. Granted at the time he wasn't doing that, he didn't have that kind of production, but he was still young enough,
right,
and still developing, where you're like, man, they're trading away a potential superstar here to go out and get themselves a defenseman who essentially is just being a third line guy right now.
And now that defenseman, holy jumping. He is I compare him to Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Not necessarily in all the ways that he plays, but in some respect, just so solid back there, rarely makes a mistake. He's almost like he's not that noticeable, but he just is so good. Like he scores the odd goal, but he's going to be that guy. Like at some point, he's probably going to leave the Lightning because he'll because of salary cap restraints. And in my opinion, he is the Nicholas Hjalmarsson of the Tampa Bay Lightning. That guy who, when he leaves, you'll realize how irreplaceable he really is on that back end.
Yeah, and so speaking of back end, my favorite trade though of all time, that's oh boy, my favorite Tampa Bay trade of all time, Stevie, when he dealt Nemestikov, Brett Howden. Again, Nemestikov's a decent bottom 6 player, but Brett Howden,
he was playing on their first line when he dealt them.
But he was. Yeah, at the time he was for sure. Brett Howden, who is a decent middle 6 guy right now. Libor Hacek, we don't hear about him anymore. First round pick, who turned out to be Niels Lundqvist, who again don't really know who he is anymore, right? Yeah. Who cares? And a second round pick that was Carl Henriksen, who again is a nobody, and he gets Ryan McDonough and JT Miller. Just what a steal!
Imagine if they still had JT Miller.
I know.
Oh, what the league would be like. It would be fun to go and be like, what would the league be like if there was no salary cap? Like, who would still be on certain teams? That would be a fun experiment.
Oh, that would be fun.
Well, let's get into this, the Avs and the Lightning, just a little bit, comparing the two teams. The Avalanche, they tied the record for since 1987 when the league went to all 7-game series in the first all 4 rounds. They tie the 88 and 87 Oilers, 92 Blackhawks, 95 Wings, 2003 Ducks, 2008 Penguins, and 2012 Kings for the least amount of losses en route to a Stanley Cup final berth. With 2. I've only lost twice. Now, funny thing, the Oilers won the Cup in their 87 and 87, or 87 and 88. The Blackhawks lost to the Penguins. The Red Wings lost to the Devils. The Ducks lost to the Devils. The Penguins lost to the Wings, and the Kings won against the Devils. So funny enough, the Devils involved in three of the 8 series in there. But it looks like, only 3 out of the 7 actually ended up going and winning their final series. So just because you have an easy first 3 rounds does not mean anything. I think that this is this, at least in terms of a hype standpoint, this is the best Stanley Cup final that we've had since think Pittsburgh, Detroit, 2009 or 2008, right? 2009. Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, 2009.
I think like that series was, an unbelievable hype of a series. You know what? I'll pull that a little forward. I'll say that one is a contender. The other contender would be Boston, Vancouver, 2011.
That was a good one. Yeah, I'll give you that.
And like going into that series, it was like, this is going to be a good series. This is going to be great. Like the two best teams in the league at the time were going head to head. And I would say the same about Pittsburgh and Detroit. The two best teams in the league were going head to head. And they did it 2 years in a row.
Right. Yeah, that's the better part, because we got 2 amazing finals for me as a Red Wings fan, and so disappointing to see Fleury stop that Lindstrom shot to end the series. Anyways, I will throw in, though, because this to me was just, there was, in terms of hype, not maybe necessarily the best 2 teams in the league, but just the excitement surrounding the series. To me, the last time was something this palpable was 2018 with the Capitals and Knights, right? Ovi's never won his cup, and the Knights are this brand new franchise that are just like so fun to watch. That was an exciting series for me to watch, but
it ended up being a pretty good series.
Yeah, for the most part.
Did that go 6?
It went 5 games, but still, it was still fun to watch Ovi carry the cup and see some boobs in the plexiglass. So that was.
Yes, very true. By the way, I talked about it when when I was by myself. Have you seen all the Connor McDavid memes right now?
No.
Dude, I guess last night he was caught out with some other girl out somewhere. No. And he's just hammered. The hashtag's Mick Hammered, so if you go look that up, you'll see
Mick Hammered.
And there's just a video of him like holding hands with a girl, and he's like looking over his shoulder. And so there's, my hockey Twitter is just meme after meme after meme of Connor McDavid. One of them is that goal where he goes through like all 5 players or 4 guys, and it says Connor McDavid is a human cheat code, and then somebody commented he sure is off the ice as well. There's there's all sorts of memes. It's pretty great. Just have to go look that up. But anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. Don't know why.
Doesn't matter. We're talking about McDavid and strippers here.
That's
it's fantastic.
Right. I want to throw this stat out for you because there's a lot of guys to talk about in this series. Probably one that won't get enough conversation is Anthony Cirelli. Listen to this stat: 251 minutes and 58 seconds, 5-on-5 this postseason. 60 minutes against Zibanejad, 52 against Matthews, and 25.5 against Barkov. 6 total goals in all of that time against.
Jeez.
In 251 minutes. That's we're talking what? That's 4+ games of only 6 goals going in, and he's playing the vast majority of that time. We're like, was that? That's 100 and I just got 140 of that 251 against Zibanejad, Matthews, and Barkov. Not to mention the other guys on the ice, like Marner, Kreider, Huberdeau, all these other Giroux, all these other guys too.
Yeah, Cirelli, I mean, it's funny, I was listening to NHL radio on XM, and like every time they're talking about matchups with the New York Rangers, right, that whole series, they're like, is Gerard Gallant going to switch things up? Is he going to put Zibanejad with Kreider, or is he going to, mix things up and go, Panarin and Kreider, or load things up, with Zibanejad? But he's just like, every time he's like throwing out this new line combination for the Rangers to try after Game 3, essentially, or, is the series over? He would basically be like, yeah, but, Tampa's still going to throw out 71 there against whatever top line they throw out. So
dude, he's going to play against McKinnon all day.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I'd say, I'll say this. Because of that, Cirelli plays maybe the most important role that as any Tampa Bay forward, because he is who the whole entire thing's going to revolve around almost. Like, all right, we got to get him out there against McKinnon. Now, I will give John Cooper this, that he's not the guy who just goes, we have to put this guy out against this guy every time. But he certainly tries. But he's got other defensively responsible top forwards. Like, he's not afraid if McKinnon is matched up with Kucherov or Stamkos. That's not a problem. Or Braden Point, assuming Point's healthy. We'll see how healthy he is. Apparently, he looks good. But we'll see. We'll see.
He's been skating on that third line
in the depth of a game. We'll see what that really looks like. But yeah, I mean, that's really how everything's going to revolve around, is how are we matching him up? Because if you can use him as an eraser on Nathan McKinnon and the rest of that line, then it's, can Nazem Kadri come back and like kind of be that X factor? He's been so good. Let's see, the Avs without Kadri since he got hurt, they've outshot the competition 130-78 and outscored them 15-11 when Kadri's been on the ice at evens. Sorry, that's with him. Sorry, with him. So I mean, he's just he's so important for the Avalanche because of the matchup. They need him on that second line, especially with Braden Point coming back. So they apparently have not ruled him out for Game 1. That's the latest. Same with Andrew Cogliano. He might be back. So we'll see. I think any prediction that I'm given for this series is very much contingent on is Point back? It sure looks like it. Is Kadri going to be back? Because that's very telling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Point on that third line is just, it's embarrassing the amount of riches, right, that Tampa Bay has if you have that luxury to put a guy like that on your third line and ease him back in, right? Because you still, like you said, you got Stamkos, you got Cirelli, you got two fantastic centers that you don't have to worry about, okay, which one's going to go up against which line. Whereas Colorado, on the other hand, now, because of how important Kadri is to that second line and the flexibility that gives them to, move Landeskog and Rantanen up and down, now you have to essentially move, Rantanen to that second line center position, so you do have depth, but also so you have a capable centerman who can, play with Nichushkin and provide an offensive spark on that second line. Because without it, I don't think that Colorado is able to get as much offensive production if you have to stack Landeskog, Rantanen, and McKinnon and have to throw somebody else in on that second line center spot. Essentially, you only have one line at that point, and again, they're still decent players, but when you look at what
that all discounts like Nichushkin, who has been phenomenal the back half of this season,
right?
Maybe the best, like from a guy from the first half of his season to the last half, probably would win a little like most improved player award. He's been that good. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk all sorts of matchups. Ultimately, though, the matchup that matters the most in this series is Francouz Kemper versus Vasilevsky. That's it right there. That's going to be a monster of a matchup for the Colorado Avalanche. And Do they have, and this is the question all season long, do they have the goaltending to win the Stanley Cup? It's gotten them this far, but But's
the big question, right?
And the teams that they've had to go against the Oilers certainly tested Francouz, but this is a different animal. The Lightning are a different animal, and they're maybe the best team of our generation. I'll say our generation in terms of maybe the last 20 years. I don't know what team I'd compare them to in this sense. Maybe the Devils, that New Jersey team. This is a team that, even though they lose, they lost a couple games early. They've been down in two of the series, and they were down 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2 in the series against the Leafs, and they were down 2-0 to the Rangers. This is a team that can adjust and just dominate. They go, oh, that's how you want to play. Okay. And then it's over. That's how they've done it all along the way. I mean, the other series in this 3-year run that went to 7 games was against the New York Islanders, a very difficult team last year to play against. And they did the same thing. They had to adjust. They adjusted, and they did it well. But I mean, it's incredible that out of the, 11 series that they've won in a row now, that only 2 of those series have gone to 7 games. The other 9 have been 4, 5, or 6. So they've been able to dispose of people pretty quickly too. And I just think that they're the best in our generation of adapting to what the other team is doing and exposing it and coming up with a fantastic game plan. That may be complete tip of the cap to John Cooper. It's also, the players that they have and their ability to adjust their own game to kind of combat what the other teams are doing. So it wouldn't surprise me here if the Colorado Avalanche come out and win game 1, even though everyone's talking about, they're rusty. They've had 8 days off. I talked about this actually before you were on here. I said I think it's a horrible take that the Avs are going to be rusty, because it's less of a deal going into the finals to get some break than it is going from the first round to the second round, where the first round to the second round, that team who won in 7 games, they're still got lots of energy. They're likely pretty healthy, and they just go and they continue that momentum. But coming into the finals, I don't think there's anything better than getting a little bit of rest, because everyone's banged up. Even the players that aren't quote unquote injured, everyone's got little bang ups, and nothing can be better than giving your body some time to rest before going into the series that is going to be the most grueling.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really believe in it, right? I mean, some teams it affects them, some teams it doesn't. So really, to me, it's the flip of the coin, right? How well have you prepared in between games, and how much have you, skated, kept the legs fresh, that sort of stuff. And two, it is, it's a big mental thing too, right? When it comes to just time off, right? You're just mentally not ready to start that series. And I think, for example, the last series against the Rangers, that's kind of what happened with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They just mentally weren't, there yet, because they had so much time off after disposing of the Florida Panthers. And so,
I also wonder though, is that just our they lost the game coming out of that, so it was probably because of the rest? Or was it just that, hey, the Rangers had a better game plan going into that series, and right, they did better early, but Tampa Bay has such an ability to adjust that Tampa almost uses that first game as a gauge. All right, how's this? Oh, okay, now we got it. All right, exposed. and before you know it, they're right back in the series.
That could essentially be their game plan, right? So they kind of play rope-a-dope. They sit back and they let you come at them, do your thing, and then they counterpunch, right? I mean, and it's easy to do that too, because Tampa Bay is so good in the middle of the ice. They clog things up. It's hard for you to play your game, and so that's how Tampa Bay kind of baits you.
They've got that wall and the blue line,
right? And so I'd be interested to see how Colorado does. whether or not their high-flying offense is going to be able to adjust once Tampa Bay puts that wall up, once they figure out Colorado's game, right? Are they going to be able to adjust? Because, again, they're a little, in my opinion, top-heavy when it comes to their big three with Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon. So, is Kadri healthy? Is he going to come back and give you that ability to adjust a little bit? You can swap guys, in your top six in and out and, have that opportunity. And, again, and another thing Kadri brings to this series that is going to be very, missed is that agitation, that little bit of sandpaper he usually brings too. So if you're, lacking a bit of that, because, Tampa Bay knows how to play that game, they have no problem, playing a little sandpaper with you too. So, it's funny. Just people just talk about how dominant Colorado was. And I go back and I looked, throughout the regular season, the two highest scoring teams, Florida and Toronto, they disposed of them in the first two rounds.
Right.
And then go and play the Rangers, who they just essentially only gave up like 1 5-on-5 goal. It was just an embarrassment.
Unbelievable.
As far as even strength is concerned.
Just unbelievable.
So if you're Colorado, you better hope that, you can adjust and that your 5-on-5 game is there. Because if not, it's going to be a quick series for you.
Okay. Let's give some predictions here to close things out. We've got the Tampa Bay playing for Corey Perry, who is the second player in the history of the league to go to the finals 3 years in a row with three different teams. The last time it happened, of course, Marian Hossa, and he wins with Chicago in the third year. So will this be his lucky third time in the finals to win a cup? Granted, he's already won a cup, but to win again. Or did the Avs go out and win one for Eric Johnson, who has he's been in the league a long time, 34 years old, and he didn't even play in the second round until 12 years into his career. So those are the two guys that have been in the league the longest with no cups on either team. Well, not no cup. Perry has a cup, but I guess there's not many guys on Tampa Bay without a cup. Nick Paul, I guess, but
Patty Maroon playing for 4 cups in a row. Let's talk about that.
And Patty Maroon playing for 4 cups are unbelievable.
Oh dude,
unbelievable. So I guess who are you going for? Who are you pulling for? I want to, at this point in the game, usually you have a team you're like, I want to see this team win it. Who do you want to win it? Not who do you think's going to win it. Who do you want to win it?
My want is Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, how often in our lifetime, we've seen a couple back-to-backs. Detroit,
and Pittsburgh.
It's been there, right? And we've witnessed some really great teams.
And
but
Pittsburgh technically twice, but I was 5 and 6 years old, so don't remember.
Right. Yeah. And so how often do we really get to see a dynasty like this, right? Where they just go back to back to back and you know what? There's 2 other teams in North American sports that have won back to back to backs in our lifetime, I should say. That's the Los Angeles Lakers. They did it in 2000, 2001, and 2002. I think it's the years, or it might be 1, 2, 3. I don't remember, but anyway, early 2000s. And then the Yankees did it in the late 90s, or late 90s, early 2000 kind of vibe. Oh, I remember those teams. Oh, yes.
And you hated those teams. Everyone hated the Yankees. That Yankees team, that iteration, everyone hated those teams. And the Lakers, people hated them. I mean, that's why it was so fun when the Pistons beat them. And I think in the finals there were some games where they were scoring 60-something points. It was unbelievable. But those are the teams that usually people hate them. I don't think that many people hate the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're just not really a team that you're like, oh gosh, I hate the Lightning. I don't want to see them succeed. It's funny. You really don't. At least for me, I don't.
Well, no, because listen, you look at past Stanley Cup winners, right? For example, Colorado. It's easy to hate them because a lot of people just don't like Nazem Kadri because of his suspensions in the past and how he's kind of a little bit of a grittier player. Teams like Washington, for example, people just don't like Tom Wilson, again, because of the suspensions, things like that. It's easy to hate those teams, whereas you look at, Tampa Bay is their guys, like Hedman, for example. He's been nominated for Norris like 6 years in a row.
Right.
How the frick how do you hate a guy like that that's so good? Vassy, he's been the top goaltender like almost every year.
And Stamkos just has the best attitude. Like he's a likable guy. When you hear him interview, like the fact that first off that he's the one who goes out and does all those interviews in between the periods, like that's a true captain. Which again just continually reminds me of Yzerman. I have said it so many times. But yeah, I mean, he's just so likable. The only guy that maybe is like a little unlikable is Kucherov, but like I think he's just funny. Like I think right? He's just kind of he's not like a bully. He just is, hey, he's going to stand up for himself but he's very funny. Yeah, I think that this is like the most likable potential dynasty in our lifetime, because again, the other dynasty would be the Patriots, right? and we all know how people feel about the Patriots. So all right, you want the Lightning to win. I think it would be unbelievable to see a team win 3 years in a row. Yeah, I think I'm pulling for the Lightning too. I want them to win, just because I don't know. I feel. Also, they beat the Leafs, so at least I can say they lost to the Stanley Cup champions. Now, who do you think's going to win?
Oh, I think Tampa Bay's going to win.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they've done the best job of adjusting to a team's game. I mean, yes, Colorado ran into a little bit of a road bump with St. Louis, and I think really had Binnington not put on a show a few games, they probably would have rolled over St. Louis a little bit easier. Because I don't think St. Louis really adjusted their game well enough like Tampa Bay can. And so, yes, we saw Tampa Bay roll over Florida, but for the most part, I've seen them adjust against New York. I've seen them adjust against Toronto, who I was legitimately worried that Toronto was coming out on top of that series after picking Tampa. So, if anything, it just gives me more validation that, Tampa Bay went and they adjusted. They knew how to battle each series, and they faced some adversity where really, I don't think Colorado faced much adversity at all getting in there. So
that's true. How many games?
Boy, this one, I could honestly see this one going 6 or 7. So I'm just gonna say 7.
Okay.
And unfortunately for Colorado, they have to lose it at home.
Yeah, that would be a losing at home. Man, it's every time I've picked against Colorado, it's always gone the other way. And every time I pick against Tampa, it goes the other way. So I don't know who to pick. I'm gonna go with the goaltender. Vasilevsky has been otherworldly. He's probably gonna win another Conn Smythe. Be the first goalie since Bernie Parent to win back-to-back Conn Smythe trophies. I think he might be the only one. So I'm going to have to go with Tampa. I'm going to say that Tampa takes it in 6 and that they win it in Tampa, just because I think that would be fun. I wonder. I also, if Kadri is like fully healthy, well, then we'll go 7. We'll say that. Fully healthy all series long.
Really, what kind of health are you getting out of Braden Point and Kadri? To me, are the X factors in these series, right? And I'm with you too. I think Vassy is, if you had to really just toss it up 50-50, right? Vassy's he's the deal breaker. He's the guy that's going to come in here and steal this series if a goaltender's going to do it, right? Because I don't think Kemper's, maybe not healthy enough, but he's not capable.
Neither goalie's going to steal. For Colorado, it's going to have to be their offense, which has been fantastic. 4.64 goals a game in the playoffs, unbelievable. So, and they are third in goals against, and Tampa is second. So, it's going to be a tight series, and I think we'll probably have some of those like 6-5 kind of games, but we could also have some 2-1, 3 like shutout style games as well. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm hoping for some really tight, like last minute goals, like what Tampa Bay's been doing all year.
Yes.
Like 3-2, 4-3 games.
I love it. All right, well, that's our show. Stanley Cup Finals start Wednesday night, and it's actually on ABC. It's you can pull it off the old antenna if you want to. hockey on broadcast TV for the finals for the first time in a little while. It was on NBC sometimes, but I don't think till later in the series or something like that. If I remember right. But anyways,
yep.
Enjoy those. Find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk, and let us know what you think of the Stanley Cup Finals. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. Enjoy the finals.